Kevin, tonight on the intelligence assessment, we're going to be exploring some of these extremely troubling red flags that are all over these new proposed red flag laws. How are you tonight, Kevin?
Good, Jason. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. It seems like these mass shootings are happening more frequently than rodeos, and it's amazing how quickly it turns to blaming it on Donald Trump.
Well, that's their ultimate mission to blame everything on Donald Trump. This was just a meaty opportunity for them to do it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah. It's the number of anomalies that surround each of these cases. It's amazing to me how the mainstream news is able to get this over on everybody without too much questioning. Shows like ours and people like Ole Damagard and some of the guests that we have on frequently. I was speaking with Scott Bennett about this earlier today. A lot of people very obviously disturbed, but it's strange how quickly they come out with these laws. You'd think it would take 10 minutes to write a law like that.
Well, the government is going to grow and it's going to surveil increasingly American people. That's the nature of government. Founding fathers knew that when they wrote the Bill of Rights. Everything the government passes regarding so-called safety, the concern is always that they're going to overreach their new law, which they have done so many times, and keep an eye on.
Yeah, we do. We have to keep an eye on them, and that's part of the purpose of our show here. I think most people know that we are doing a regular program every Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Sometimes we like to have these little previews on YouTube to let people know that if they join us on patreon.com/Kevin_Shipp with 2 P's, or patreon.com/crowdsource the truth. They're going to get a great show and a rundown from you and I. Kevin, of course, is a former CIA officer, and people who have visited his webpage, fortheloveoffreedom.net, have had an opportunity to peruse his daily messages, as well as delving into some of the information that Kevin has reserved for his website. You can get the shadow code, which is going to allow readers of Kevin's book, From the Company of Shadows, to access the elements that that the CIA wanted redacted to avoid their own embarrassment. I just had a little bit of a tongue trip there, because there's so many ways in which, Kevin, that the FBI, the CIA, which had good reason to remain separate, have become so intertwined in ways that are dangerous for the individual rights of American citizens.
That's right, Jason. They're no longer two separate agencies. The FBI is being kind of the national police force, and the CIA only having an overseas mission in counterintelligence and espionage. They've now merged under the heading of counterintelligence, where now they're working together. And we saw them work together when they planted Stephen Halper in the Trump campaign, and they set up George Papadopoulos with the professor, Joseph Mifsud. So they are now intertwined, just exactly like you say.
Yeah, and Joseph Mifsud, unfortunately, is outside of Robert Mueller's purview unless he's delivering a neat scotch or something like that. He just seems to be something that's not going to be spoken about. We did some extensive reporting on Mr. Mueller's ridiculous performance at the hearing there. Now, wait a minute. Here's Boris Johnson with these guys. That's interesting. I haven't seen this picture before.
Yes, it is.
So, Kevin, talk to us just a bit before we transition over to our subscriber-only exclusive show on patreon.com/Kevin_Shipp and patreon.com/Crowdsource the truth. Help us understand how this unintended or sort of illicit merger of certain factions in the FBI and the CIA, how specifically is that dangerous to people's rights?
Well, it's dangerous to people's rights because what you're doing is you're taking the CIA and you're bringing it into a domestic mission, and the NSA, of course. You're bringing them into a domestic mission with the FBI, and you're violating the CIA and NSA's charter, who are supposed to only be doing operations against foreign entities. That allows them, when the FBI does a counterintelligence investigation, that it automatically brings in the CIA. I know because I sat in the counterespionage group in the CIA, and my boss an FBI supervisory agent, and my deputy was an FBI supervisory agent. So we had the FBI and the CIA mixed together doing espionage cases. Now, there's a classic example. And some of these cases, many of these cases, were inside the United States. But the FBI and the CIA, in that case, me, of course, I'm recovering now, but they were working together domestically inside the United States. Counterintelligence is their excuse or their reason or their card that they use to actually spy on Americans inside the United States.
Yeah, and we've done a lot of shows about some of the technologies that are being used to facilitate that. I think I can assume that when we merge these agencies, there's crossover capabilities. I mean, we've done extensive shows about the hammer and how thin thread in some of these programs were originally designed to monitor terrorists while protecting the civil rights of individual U.S. citizens, but how software safeguards, legal safeguards have been removed from these tools, and there's now rampant spying on individuals within the United States, not only by various agencies in the government, but even by contractors to the government and even certain private corporations.
Oh, yeah. A good example of that is Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin is the private spying arm of the CIA, and Lockheed Martin does most of the CIA's surveillance capability and technology. And Lockheed Martin has a program, I think it's instituted now, where they are monitoring every piece of mail that a U.S. citizen sends to another U.S. citizen. So there's a classic example. And then finally, we have the FBI being given full access to NSA about queries, surveillance of U.S. citizens, in a large FBI database, NSA surveillance, which they turned over with no unmasking raw intelligence data on Americans. They turned it over to 2 private contractors with unlimited access. So there's another example.
You know, the thing that I'm so worried about, Kevin, like you bring up Lockheed Martin. Everybody's heard of that company, obviously a gigantic contractor to the government. But this is a private corporation. It's not corporation by the people, for the people, and of the people. It's owned by rich guys who have investors. Foreign individuals and companies could come and invest in this and gain access to who knows what. So you're basically able to, you know, you've said it many times, we're living in a post-constitutional America. And one of the things that you said to me in one of our very early conversations that I found so fascinating was that the big data that's being collected, and this is a topic that's come around again, is intended to be used to create an artificial intelligence that is so far beyond anything that we can envision right now that it would actually predict the behavior of individuals. And this leads right into these red flag laws that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very true. It's like the Minority Report coming to pass. And one of the things that when Amazon entered into the $600 million contract with the CIA was for monitoring trends in people across the globe and kind of future prediction using AIs. All of that through DARPA, the CIA, and NSA and their contracting organization is in process right now. A predictive, quote unquote, predictive intelligence, so they can themselves, with no oversight, label an American citizen as a possible threat. And during the program on Patreon, we'll show you some of those threats that they're labeling, and it'll blow your mind.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've heard them say things like, you have the right to be believed, and Robert Mueller could not exonerate. These are concepts that are so foreign to American justice, so not in line with what the Constitution is all about, so far removed from the things that the founding fathers of this country rebelled against the monarchy of England to get away from. It's really shocking to believe that this is America in 2019, but it is.
That's right. We are doing the same things that the King of England and the monarchy that the founding fathers got away from in terms of surveillance, shutting down cases against the government and burying them. On and on and on and on. It's gotten to a fever pitch.
Yeah, and certainly with the technology that's available today, it's substantially more invasive than anything that the King of England could have ever hoped to do. He could not monitor every word of every person all day, store it, access it, cross-reference it. It's mind-boggling.
Right. It is.
So we'll be on in just about 20 minutes on patreon.com/Kevin_Shipp and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, as well as subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. And Kevin, you know, it's been a really successful effort. Yours was one of the very first shows that we did here on Patreon and Subscribestar, and it's a good way for viewers who want to access this information, particularly as the climate gets more oppressive, for ideas that deviate from the norm. Anybody who is outside this prescribed narrow lane of thinking is going to be ostracized, alienated, denied the ability to access social media, and ultimately, who knows, maybe denied the ability to access money or even remain in the country.
Yeah, it's getting that bad, especially in the banking industry. But yeah, we're looking at some very bad stuff that exists now and is coming.
Yeah, and it's hard to believe because, you know, you talk about Minority Report. That's exactly what I was thinking about when we talk about, you know, some sort of predictive law enforcement. I mean, it seemed like a very alien concept and a very distant future in just 2002 when this Tom Cruise movie came out. But we literally have legislation that borders on exactly what Tom Cruise's mission was in this film.
That's right. That's right. You remember the great movie Enemy of the State with Will Smith and trying to blank on the other fellow, great actor. I'm just brain farting on his name. That stuff is happening now. Just like Minority Report, it was almost predictive. An Enemy of the State, that was, goodness, how many years ago? 10 or more? Oh, more than that.
Definitely
Gene
more.
Hackman. That's
Gene Hackman, right? Yep.
My brain just unlocked.
Yep.
Gene Hackman also is in it. I recommend everybody watch that, even though it's been out there for a few years. That stuff is happening. The NSA is doing that now.
Yeah, and that's another film. I remember, I think I was in college when that film came out. It looks like it came out, 1998. So I had graduated college, but 21 years ago. And I bet, just from memory, if you watch that film right now, you might chuckle at how quaint some of the technology that they're using seems. A lot of the things they were doing in there as the state, you could do on your own computer at home now. So we're really entering into some
far worse.
Yeah, we're entering into some uncharted waters, Kevin. So we're going to wrap it up here on YouTube in just a moment and get ready for our show on Patreon. I want people to go over to patreon.com/Kevin_Shipp and sponsor Kevin's page. I hope people will remember that whistleblowers like Kevin risk not only their freedom, their lives, their health, but their livelihood. And it becomes extremely difficult to get any kind of employment when you have the CIA and the massive machine of the U.S. Department of Justice working against you. So sponsoring Kevin on patreon.com is a great way to keep this program going and to keep Kevin on top of his game. People can also go to patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. The show will be starting in just about 15 minutes, so we're going to look for everybody over there, Kevin. Very interested in seeing your report. For people who haven't seen the show before, Kevin is preparing really detailed reports that are very much like the style of reports that he would deliver to his fellow officers at the CIA. Of course, Kevin is barred from sharing any classified information that he may have known at the time he was there, but we still get some amazing insights. Kevin is accessing open source information that's available to him now. So we'll see everybody there in 15 minutes, Kevin. I'm looking forward to the report.
Me too, Jason. Thank you.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you in 15 minutes.